Now for Inside Utah Politics.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Glenn Mills. It is time to go inside Utah politics. We do begin this morning with Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill, here to discuss an effort to save Afghan prosecutors being hunted by the Taliban. Great to have you back on the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for the invite.
This is such an interesting topic, and there was a conference in Salt Lake City during the week that really addressed this. But first, let's get into the background. Talk to us about how this issue came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as part of our efforts in Afghanistan, our government with the Allied forces also helped train the Afghan Attorney General's office and helped create that with constitutional provisions, the idea of rule of law, the principles that we as public prosecutors rely upon, and due process, accountability, discretion, independence. And that was a paradigm shift for the building of democratic institutions there. And there are men and women who embraced that, and as a part of that, really helped out with that effort. And then when the fall of Afghanistan happened in 2021, these men and women were left behind. And they were men and women who were pivotal in prosecuting terrorism, prosecuting corruption, prosecuting violence against women, and all the different kinds of crimes that were being committed by the Taliban. So when the Taliban came in, they released some 60,000 prisoners and basically put all these men and women who were prosecutors on a hit list of retribution, and they've gone into hiding, and they are being targeted. Some 26 have been killed. There's multiple family members who have been tortured and killed as a result of that. And so the Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, which is a national organization I'm a part of, we are having our major county meeting here, and the task force that was created to assist our fellow prosecutors who've been left behind.
Yeah, talk about that more from a colleague standpoint. You can, just hearing what you said, your heart goes out, and you can just imagine how terrible that must be. But to know what you do here every single day and how it's taken for granted in other parts of the country, but from a colleague standpoint, talk to me about how your heart goes out to those that are now in hiding.
Yeah, we had one colleague who has moved away, who was with the Afghan Attorney General's Association, who came and spoke at the conference that we had at the press conference. When you do the work as a prosecutor in America, you follow the law. It can be complicated, but justice is not complicated. It may be nuanced, but it's about doing the right thing for the right reason without inserting politics into it. And it is that core principle that these men and women also embraced. And while we may get people who are angry at us, we don't get the same kind of death threats, which are existential. So there was a story that I mentioned at the press conference. There was a rarity of a woman prosecutor who was on the hit list, and they went looking for her. They couldn't find her, but her father answered the door, and he was killed. There is another one who they were looking for the one prosecutor, and his brother showed up, and they killed the brother. And even as we were talking about this for our press conference for this national launch of this campaign, in the this last week, 2 more prosecutors have been killed. And so we take for granted the work that we do without fear to do the right thing. And here are men and women who embrace that same thing as fellow prosecutors. So our heart goes out to them as colleagues, but more importantly, our heart also goes out to them as fellow human beings who are being basically targeted for doing the right thing.
What does that say about their character, that they're willing to put their lives on the line for a cause they thought was just?
Yeah, it's remarkable. It takes remarkable courage. At the press conference I talked, I grew up in that part of the world, in that region. I'm from northern India. And those systems can be very calcified, and they can be very rigid. And as we were a part of that democracy and democratic institutions building, these men and women took the risk to be part of that change, and they embraced it fully. And by taking that risk, they put themselves in direct and harm's way, and it's unimaginable for us. But they bought into the idea of rule of law. They bought into the idea of transparency. And the dignity of human agency, and how critical they know it was for the institution that are dependent on those democratic principles. So they bought in full force. As a result, there were 6,000 staff and family members who were left behind, and there are some 1,500 still that are just in hiding, basically day-to-day surviving because they're on a list being hunted down.
Okay, let's dig into that a little bit more because that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So the national prosecutors coming together to raise money to try to help these people get out of Afghanistan. Talk about the fundraiser, and is it something that me and other members of the public can contribute?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a collaboration with non-government organizations. One of the things to keep in mind, because these prosecutors were not directly employed by the U.S. Government, they do not qualify for this specialized visa. So one of the things that we're agitating for is to change those rules because they need to also have this access to the visa so they can escape. The other part of it is that all these different non-government organizations that have come together, we're working with them, and the goal here is to raise $15 million with these NGOs who can facilitate their escape. So Germany has taken people, Spain has taken people, Portugal has taken people. The process is slowed down for us, so it's going to be direct funding for that. The Association of Prosecuting Attorneys have set up this nonprofit 501c. 100% of that money is going to go towards working, facilitating that change. It is travel money, it's visa money, it's subsistence money to help these men and women be able to escape.
We talked a little bit about the conference that was being hosted here in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
At least some of it I know right at your office.
Yeah.
Talk about the significance of bringing prosecutors from across the country here to Salt Lake City and to really engage in this cause.
Yeah, so our office has been hosted the major county prosecutors meeting, and that brings some of the major metropolises and counties. There's about 30 to 40 of the biggest ones that are here. We're sharing ideas together, but more importantly, we're also talking about these important issues of how to serve our community. So it was our privilege as the Salt Lake County DA's office to host that, and it was also our privilege to help launch that national organization. And you asked earlier, so everybody can participate in this. If you go to the website apa-pfp.org, ordinary citizens can donate to that, large corporations can donate to that, and everybody can be a part of this process and bringing these men and women home.
Okay, that's awesome. Say that website one more time,
Sure,
please.
it's apa-pfp.org.
Okay. All right, and then we can probably find that on Google, and I'll provide a link to that on our web story as well if anyone is interested in finding that. Fascinating conversation. Wish you all the best because it's such a good cause. Thanks so much for being here and sharing that experience with us.
Thank you for drawing attention to that.
You bet. All right, still to come, Utah Senator